Hey everybody! I was at GuitCon a few weeks ago and I met Divinity Roxx. We first met at the Warwick Base Camp. I was organizing the camp at the time and invited her as an instructor for the 1 week of complete bass nerdism in the middle of nowhere in Germany. So that's where we first met. We did a clinic tour together in 2015, I think it was, for Warwick in Germany and Austria. And of course, we talked about that. We talked about her playing with Beyonce, her doing her solo projects, her musical activities right now. We talked about racism. We talked about a lot of different things. And I really hope you enjoy the talk. We had a fantastic time there. Unfortunately, the lighting in the room wasn't perfect, so there's some lighting issues. Hopefully you can excuse that. Besides that, have fun with the interview. Thanks for watching. Bye. Hey Divinity, good to see you again.
Good to see you.
Long time ago, right?
Has it really been that long?
It was at NAMM, I think.
Wow. Yeah, wow, it's been that long.
Yeah, see?
Yeah.
Wow. What are you up to these days?
Oh man, I am performing, of course. I was just accepted into this program called Next Level. It's a program where the U.S. State Department sponsors hip-hop ambassadorship.
Wow.
So I get to travel to, I'm particularly going to the Dominican Republic to do 2-week workshops, hip-hop workshops.
Mm-hmm.
And my role in the group is as an MC. So there's a DJ, a graffiti artist, a beat maker, and an MC. And we go into local communities and bring hip-hop workshops, and we put together a big, large show and really have a cultural exchange with people.
That sounds
So
great.
yeah, that's really cool. I was just also accepted into this program called Zoo Labs. It's a program out of San Francisco. It's a studio where I'll get to record my next album for 2 weeks for free, pretty much, in this really awesome, incredible studio. So I'm working on a new album. I got those things going on. I'm also producing a few songs on this record called Girl, the Album. That's being put together by the Women's International Music Network, the women who run the She Rocks Awards at NAMM. And producing a couple of songs on that project. I'm really excited about that because I get to put my producer hat on. I love music production and I love learning about it. So I feel like I'm growing as an artist, as a producer, as a musician, by working on this project.
Very good.
Yeah.
As a musician, you played with Beyonce, and since then you're doing your solo stuff.
Yeah.
Is there any band or any artist you're gonna be like a sidewoman again?
The sidewoman thing is really amazing, but it's not what I've been focusing on.
Mm-hmm.
I will do it if the right opportunity and the right situation presents itself and it makes sense. I've been so busy with the projects that I am passionate about and that I love to do, that sometimes when you do the side woman work, you kind of get away from what you're passionate about. So it really have to be some artist where it just works, you know. I played the She Rocks Awards last year and Melissa Etheridge played. I really had a good time playing with her. I thought we had a lot of fun. So Melissa, if you're listening, I'll go on tour with you. Not to take away the current bass player's gig or anything. So you know, I mean, that would be interesting too because I'd be playing music that I'd never really played, and I like that challenge, and it's new, and I think that would be really cool. That type of gig would be a cool, fun.
Yeah, because it's like kind of a songwriter rock thing.
Yeah, and it's chill, and she's not doing 300 dates a year, you know. So it'd be cool to go out with somebody every now and again and develop a relationship with them. And it'd be cool if I could develop the type of relationship where maybe I could record, you know, with an artist as well. You know, singer-songwriter type of artist. But I mean, I also played for B.O.B. A lot of people know B.O.B. from the Nothing on You record with Bruno Mars. It was a big hit. He's a hip hop artist from Atlanta. I also did a little promotional tour with this R&B artist, K Michelle. K Michelle, she's awesome too. She has a beautiful voice. So yeah, you know, things like that. It'd be dope to do like a TV show, like a nightly TV show or something, and be in the band doing that. Because I can do my thing during the day,
Right.
and it's in New York. Let's say it's in New York, and then at night I can go do my gig. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. So
You were born and raised in Atlanta.
ATL.
And then you moved to LA, and now you're living in New York. Is it like you're looking for the right spot to make your living as an artist?
No, I think I just like to be able to travel and live in different places. I think it's important to move and live in the city that you didn't grow up in. There's always something that each city has that's really unique, and kind of being able to immerse yourself in it and experience it by living there kind of changes or helps mold you into and morph you into something even more creative, even more interesting. The LA thing, I think when I moved to LA, I'd always wanted to live in LA, always wanted to live in California, ever since I was a little girl. I used to look at the weather report. You know, they would give you the whole map of the U.S. on TV as a little kid, and I would always stare at California, and it was always sunny, and I was just wanted to get there so bad. So when I went to college, had the opportunity to go to college, I went to UC Berkeley. So that was my first time living in California. And then I moved back to Atlanta, stayed there for a while, did the Beyonce thing, and wanted to get back to California. So I did, and I was making at that time real rocked out hip hop music. You know, rocking guitars, hip hop drum beats, and I felt like guitar players. I needed a guitar player from LA. I needed that LA vibe. Omar Guzmao was the guy I met out there, and we did some great recordings together and some good touring. I moved back to New York.
On Impossible too?
No, he's the guy who played on the Roxx Experience.
Oh, right.
Him and this other cat, Matt, who played on the Roxx Experience, and Carlos McSwain, God rest his soul, played drums on that record. He was an amazing drummer. I really moved to New York out of a personal obligation to my fiance, who hated LA.
Okay.
Hated it. And when she moved to LA, the way I convinced her to move to LA was I promised her that if she hated it, I would move back to New York with her.
Okay. So you not kept the promise.
Damn! Why I gotta keep my promises?
So could you also imagine like living abroad?
Absolutely. We talk about it. She and I talk about it, at least for a year. You know, I mean, I've done some extensive traveling throughout Europe and throughout the world, really, and we talk about possibly, she really loves Italy, talk about going to Italy for a year and living somewhere. I like the whole mountainside, countryside type of vibe, real chill. I don't really have to be in a huge, big city. But I mean, somewhere like Paris is an awesome place. I was recently in the Ivory Coast. I know this is so odd, but I literally started thinking, I wonder if I could live here for a year. It would be an extremely different type of living.
Life. Yeah.
Yeah,
right.
you know, but I mean, the music there is amazing, man.
Oh, yeah.
All those rhythms that are going on just on the radio alone, it's mind-blowing. So I feel like it would really enhance me as an artist. Yeah.
And your fiance, you got to know her during your stint with Beyonce, right?
Yeah,
she was a dancer.
She was a dancer on the Beyonce tour. Yeah.
So you've both seen the whole world.
Yes, absolutely.
So you can make your choice.
Yeah.
You know all the places.
Man, my family would be like, dang, because living in California, I was pretty far from my family in Atlanta. So I didn't get to see them as much. I didn't realize that until I moved to the New York area, where I've seen them so much more than I had before when I was living in LA. It's only a 2-hour plane ride. I'm on the same coast, same time.
Yeah.
You know. So it's kind of cool to be close to them in this way.
That's right.
Yeah. Especially my grandparents. They're getting old.
Talking about Atlanta, how was it to be raised in the southern state in Georgia?
What do you mean? I mean, it was awesome.
I mean, especially for you as a black person. Was it kind of like, have you had any kind of trouble there or like racism things going on?
Man, there's racism everywhere, everywhere. People like to say that the South is so much more racist than other parts of the world, but it's not. It's equally the same. My experience in Atlanta as a black person, Atlanta is full of black people. So when I went to elementary school, I went to elementary school with all black people.
Oh wow, okay.
I didn't start going to school with white people or people of other cultures and ethnicities and races until I went to middle school. I went to Inman Middle School, and then when I went to high school, I went to an international high school. Mm-hmm. So my high school consisted of people from all over the world. It was extremely diverse. But yeah, my upbringing in Atlanta, man, I mean, it was awesome. It was just all black people, pretty much, It's very segregated in that way. But I was fortunate enough to be forced, in a sense, to go to schools in different districts because my mom was like, you need to have the best possible education that you could have because education is the key to every single opportunity that you can ever afford yourself in life. So you have to go after being educated, and school is one of the ways that you can certainly be educated. And so she fought for us to go to schools that weren't necessarily in our neighborhoods. So yeah, I mean, I've experienced racism. I experienced racism on a daily basis. Not since I've been here though. This has been really cool. It's little microaggressions. I was been thinking about that lately. There are small microaggressions that you experience on a daily basis that other people might not be able to interpret or get because they're microaggressions, little jabs little things that people do just to fuck with you, and it wears you down after a while. It's like you're chipping away at something. But at the same time, I have a lot of diverse friends and people who I love and people who love me, and I've been fortunate in that way.
So have you found your way to get along with all that shit?
I mean, it is what it is, man. My ancestors been dealing with it from day one, so it's just sort of what we do. We survive, we live, we love, we laugh, we enjoy each other's company. We deal with the things that we deal with, and we keep it moving, and we try to build support systems around ourselves. And we have friends we can call and vent to who are going to understand exactly why we're so fucking angry, or why am I so sad, or why am I so frustrated. I know who to call and who can kind of give me some comfort and who can understand what that feels like and what that means. And I think as human beings, that's what we need. We need support from other people who can really understand what you're going through and help you move through it. And I think at this time, a lot of people are really trying to understand. I really do. I really feel like people all over the world are trying to understand. And I think that it's because of the climate we're in right now, where things are so blatant and so disrespectful that it gives people who don't necessarily feel like they're that way, it makes them stand up to defend the people who are being who are getting their asses kicked and handed to them with microaggressions every day. So I think it's kind of interesting what's happening in the world.
Yeah, we have these problems in Germany too, and we're struggling with racism and all that shit. And I think it's an interesting thing. Where does it come from, and why does it happen, and why do we have such a big fear for other races, other cultures, other people, foreign languages, whatever it is? Where does that come from? I completely do not get it. So, of course, I don't understand what black people in the United States are going through, because I'm not from there and I don't have that heritage. But I think I'm starting to feel it a little. And Yeah, it saddens me actually. It's so, I don't know, it's so backwards. It's not going to the future.
Yeah, but I think that we need this little resurgence that we're having so that people recognize it. You know, it becomes more apparent to you now. Something that you probably just brushed off or didn't even pay attention to. Now you have an opportunity to pay attention to. And when you're in your environments with other people who may have those types of views, you can say something to them.
Right.
And you can say, wait a minute, that's not right, yo. Let me, why do you feel that way? And really start to have heart-to-heart conversations with individual people and really try to get them to modify or turn their hearts around in a sense. And I think that's what's kind of needed, because we can hang out with some extreme people, you know, because they're either our families, or we love them, they're friends, they're human beings too. I got some extreme friends too, who are crazy, you know what I mean? But we you know, talk about things. We can have these really heated debates about things, and still love each other in the end, and see little bit by little bit that maybe something I said is something they start to contemplate in their heads next time they have an interaction with somebody. You know, so I think it's human. It's heart-to-heart connections.
And it's small steps.
Small steps.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be some time, but it is what it is. We just keep it moving.
That's right.
Yeah.
It is what it is. I heard that very often from Chuck Rainey, actually.
Really?
Yeah. When we've been on tour together, he said that all the time. Yeah, I remember it from him.
I love Chuck, man.
Yeah,
man, I
great.
got to play a lot of Chuck Rainey bass lines recently. It's funny because I do this show called Black Women Rock that comes on BET every year. And it really is a show that is highlighting positive Black women in media, film, TV, in the community, activism. Tarana Burke was one of the people she started the Me Too movement actually, and she was honored recently. I mean, it's a really positive show. And this year we did a tribute to Aretha Franklin. And you know, Chuck played on all that.
Sure.
All that Aretha Franklin stuff.
And Jerry.
Yeah, and Jerry,
Sure,
absolutely.
yeah.
So it was really cool. That's what I love about Warwick, because I can get to hang out with those guys.
That's right. Yeah.
In Germany, in this bass setting, because bass players are so cool. And then, you know, I do a TV show and I'm playing their bass lines. And I'm listening and learning, really learning their bass lines. So it was really cool. I felt so much pressure. I mean, what song is that? I'm gonna knock on your door, tap on your window pane. That song, Chuck played his ass off. I think that's Chuck. The bass on that record is ridiculous. It's so good. And I played it behind Stephanie Mills. I love Stephanie Mills. She's so amazing. So I've been really enjoying that type of stuff.
Great.
So, yeah.
Yeah, we've been touring like, I don't know, right after we've been touring actually. Same year.
Yeah, you guys went out with Chuck.
Yeah, right. And he taught me some lessons that was quite interesting. I was sitting right here in this room with him, and he told me, you don't need to play more than the root and the fifth. That's all you need. I mean,
you know what though? That's what I got from the from that particular song. What is the name of the song? Because that's not the name. We were calling it all kind of things. Tap on your window pane. That's not the name of it, but it's an Aretha Franklin song. I think it was from the early '80s. I think. But as I was listening to the bass line and the chord progression, I found that it was 1, 3, 5. He was playing the root, the third, and the fifth. That's all. Maybe throwing the seventh in there every now and again. But it was so tasteful and just so rhythmically pleasing. And the way the bass sat with all the chords, it was really, really fun to listen to him hop around that song. And that's what it felt like he was doing. He was hopping around the bass on that song, and it just sounded like he was having so much fun. Yeah, but the root and the fifth, yeah, I mean, and they got to go third in there so we can, outline the chord.
Right. Not needed all the time.
Not needed all the time. No. But every now and again, you
right. Very good. So talking about the tours we did, it was one actually, right? Mm-hmm. We did the one with Stu Ham, yourself, and me. We were touring Germany, Austria, and Czech Republic actually.
Yeah.
Or we drove past the Czech Republic. That was fun after Vienna.
Yeah. We had a good time.
We had a good time.
Really
Yeah,
cool.
that was funny. Remember your idea you had in Berlin doing this city tour on bicycles?
Oh yeah!
Oh wow!
So I convinced these guys because I love riding my bike. It was such a beautiful day. We only had 2 days off. I think the whole run. Yeah. So we had this beautiful day off in Berlin, and I found some cycling. Mm-hmm. There was a cycling tour. So I convinced these guys to get on these bikes with me and go on a tour of Berlin.
That's right.
And it was really cool. We went to the to that Holocaust.
Yeah, right.
Exhibit that was beautiful. We drank beer in the garden.
Yeah, we were. It ended at a beer garden, actually. Yes. That was
cool.
much fun. Yeah. And for me, as a German, it was really interesting because the tour was guided by an Australian guy,
right?
If I remember correctly, and he has his way of explaining German history you would never ever hear from a German guide.
Really?
Yeah, that was so interesting. Like when we were in the middle on where the bunkers were, mm-hmm. He was talking like, and back there where the dog is shitting, that's where the entrance was.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow.
Yeah,
that's so cool. You would never have heard that from a German guy.
Wow.
Maybe nowadays, I don't know, but not back when I did guided Berlin tours, and because everything was so dark and everything was like, oh, that's our history, and we have to deal with that. It's so extremely sad and stuff.
Yeah.
But I mean, it is what it is, right?
It is what it is. I think it's interesting the history you guys have here and how you deal with it. You deal with it by teaching it. You really teach. At least in my opinion, it seems as though you're not trying to cover it up so much, but it's blatant. It's in your face. Well, also the world throws it in your face a lot, I think.
Yeah.
They really do. So you can't forget.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in America, the world doesn't tend to throw the dark history of America in its face, and America really tries to cover it up and sweep it under the rug a lot of times. That's kind of why I feel like we continue to have these resurgences of racism. I mean, we always have racism, and it's built into the American system. It really is. It's very systemic. But the fact that it's always trying to be dismissed, it's dismissive, and it's something that, we don't want to talk about it anymore. We've talked about it so many times, and whoop, whoop, whoop. I think we're not really teaching the truth about the dark history of America in the past.
Yeah, but who is teaching the truth?
Well, shit.
What is the truth?
The truth is the truth.
Yeah, but...
From who's in power?
Who's in power, and which perspective? So I think it might be different how we deal with it in Germany than you do in the United States, but still, as we teach our history in schools and to people, we still have this racism problems. So I'm not sure if it's a thing of being teach or knowing about that stuff, or having heard about that, talking about that, or is it just like a human thing? Suppressing people you think you are, where you think you are better than the others. I don't know.
Humans are fucked up. But then
that's right.
And then they can be so beautiful.
It's diversity.
Yeah, I guess we need it. You know, it reminds me of this. What is my phone doing? It reminds me of this. the saying that Victor Wooten had on his Show of Hands record. He was talking about this TV show that he used to grow up to as kids. We used to grow up and watch. And there was a segment in it that was like, one of these things is not like the other. One of these things is not the same. One of these things like just doesn't belong, you know. And he says he remembers thinking, well, why doesn't it belong? Just because it's different from the other things. And then he goes, why would there be anything on the planet that didn't belong? And he's like, I guess there's room for that opinion too, you know? So yeah, diversity in thought, mind, species, IQ, whatever, mentality, whatever. I guess we just gotta deal with it, man. Because we all on the planet together, and that's the one thing we do share, is this planet.
Exactly.
And if we can't come together on that front to fix what's happening to the planet, not just between us as human beings, but on the thing that we live on that is sustaining us and keeps us alive and keeps us healthy and keeps us, you know, progressing and evolving. If we don't care about that, then how can we care about each other?
Yeah, good question. I don't know.
That's deep. I mean, everybody is saying you're killing the earth. You live here. It's like
Right.
I'm burning down my own house. Why would I do that? What is the mentality?
Yeah, but many people in power just do that because there's so much things going on that you as people being governed by these guys don't really realize. All these lobbyism things and paying for politics and paying for the rules by the industry and all that shit. I think it gets more and more obvious that we are not really ruled by the government but by the industry.
Well, yeah. But I mean, you can't pay for a new planet. I guess that's what they're trying to do by creating the space system, the space programs where, you know, we're going to inhabit another planet. But who do you think is going to go to that planet? And who do you think is going to be left?
And how long do you think it's going to be cool on that planet?
Right, before you destroy it.
Yeah, again. Exactly. Do you think that we as artists have another approach to what's going on in the world than people who are not traveling that much or people who are stuck in a 9 to 5
Absolutely.
or something?
Well, the traveling just changes your perspective on everything, I think. Those of us who have an opportunity to really travel, I started realizing that when I began traveling, was that, wow, my little world that I grew up in and my little hometown and the people that I was around and grew up with are one thing, but there are people all over the world, and you start realizing that people all over the world smile in the same language. People all over the world cry and hurt in the same language. There is no difference in that. People suffer. There's so much suffering. It doesn't matter who you are, what you look like. Even these super industrious, rich, powerful people, they're suffering too.
Right.
Humans suffer, and we laugh and we cry, but we're all the same. And I think when you really start traveling and coming in contact with different cultures, I think artists are more open to appreciate what other cultures have to offer. Because we sort of interpret that as growing us in our art, you know, in some way.
Like what you said from the Ivory Coast, like just getting into the culture and growing.
Yeah, just the rhythms alone, turning on the radio. And when you're in the car, sitting in traffic, listening to the radio, as musicians, we're like, dang, this is what they playing on the radio.
Yeah,
wow.
right.
And we're analyzing the clave and the importance of the clave and the music and how the whole rhythm of everything is centered around it. And we're just like, wow, listen to these complex rhythms they got going on, and they're singing hip-hop music on top of it. So that's that influence from America, you know. And so you have all these influences happening at the same time, and you're just immersing yourself in that. But some people will never be exposed to that. They won't have that moment. of really immersing themselves in somebody else's culture. Or if they do, they're so afraid of it, or like, oh my God, I don't know. Oh, should I eat this? Oh, should we go anywhere? I think I'm just gonna go to this country and stay in my hotel room. What? That's dumb.
Mm-hmm.
Get out and experience the world.
Right.
Interact
Right.
with people.
That's right.
You
Get
know?
to know other cultures, other people. Right, yeah. When I was talking to Stu Ham lately, he was... I asked him about his stay on La Réunion. He's been there for a workshop, concert series, something. And he said they have this fantastic rhythm there. It's a 6/8 rhythm with focus on the 2 and the 5. And he completely understood it, but he was not able to feel it. And what he said is, well, maybe I'm too white. And that was funny, of course, but on the other hand, I think, or I want to ask you, do you think there's differences in how we approach music? Not only rhythm, but maybe music. I remember in the 60s, the blues guy said, because the blues went to England from the United States, the United States blues guy said, well, white guys can't play the blues. Is there some truth to that? What do you think?
That dude was playing some blues last night. You know, in the music hall.
Right.
The last cat who performed, he was singing his heart out and playing his blues. We all share suffering. And I think that's what the blues is. It's an expression of that.
No, not talking about especially the blues, but
just in general.
In
I
general,
think it's human beings.
general.
Yeah, I think culturally we grow up with different experiences and different exposures to different types of music. So, for instance, my fiance is Cuban, so she has all of this rich Cuban and Afro-Cuban heritage inside of her, and musically she grew up listening to music that I never grew up listening to at all. And she has a way with rhythm that I don't have, you know, dancing salsa. I mean, I can do it a little bit, but watching her and her brother dance salsa is like the most beautiful and amazing experience, because that's what they grew up doing.
Yeah,
and sometimes I put on some funk songs and some old R&B songs, and I start singing, and she's like, how do you know this song? I'm like, I grew up with this song. I'm like, you don't know this song, you know?
Yeah.
And she does the same thing. She's like, no, you don't know Celia Cruz songs, or you know, and so and even the language, translating some of that music. When she translates it, she's like, I'm telling you what it means, but in Spanish it means so much more. They're expressing so much more than I can explain to you about how much they love something or somebody, you know?
Yeah, there's so much getting lost in translation.
So much getting lost in translation. Yeah. And I think that is what Stu is talking about. So Stu grew up in the environment he grew up in, and it's easy to say that I grew up in a white environment, so I can understand it, but I can't feel it. You know, it's just, something gets lost in translation. I can understand salsa, and I can dance it a little bit, you know what I mean? But to really get into it, I gotta really immerse myself in that culture and really spend some time there. So I think it's just a matter of doing a little bit of work. But I mean, rhythm is something, you know. I think that I don't want to just come out and say, yeah, I think black people got rhythm, are born with it. Some of us don't.
Some of us, yeah, right. The funny thing is, in Germany, when it comes to musicians and you see a black guy, everybody think he
about to kill it.
He's killing it.
But it's like being...
And then he's got like, what, 1, 2, 3, and what then? What next?
Listen.
And you were like, what?
Wait, you don't know it?
You don't groove?
Yeah, right. That's so fucked up. That's so fucked up. Yeah, but it's like being an athlete, for instance, or somebody who's very tall. So you got somebody who's 6'4".
You must be a basketball player.
Must be a basketball player. You must be the fastest, strongest Can't play a lick of basketball. No coordination. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that. You know, like, you don't know. It may not be your thing. I think it becomes an individual thing. I know I'm funky.
And that she is, absolutely. But I heard you sing Every Breath You Take yesterday.
I did. Well, I love Sting, though.
Cool.
Sting is amazing. I love him. I think now that's somebody I would love to meet. I've never met him. I've met Flea, and I love Flea too. I love him. I think he's amazing. And I mean, of course, I've met Larry Graham. I hung out with him.
Yeah,
Bootsy,
sure.
Fucking Marcus Miller. I bum rushed Marcus Miller in the park the other day. I don't think he even knew who I was. I was like, can I get a picture with you? I get to be such a fangirl with Marcus. Such like a little child who's like, oh my God, can I just lay at your feet and just watch you play bass all day? I get that way with some artists still. And then when people do that to me, I'm kind of like, why are you, why are you doing that to me? I'm just a person. But then I get all flipped out when I meet certain people and artists. Yeah. It's ridiculous. But I get all nervous inside.
Isn't that a good thing?
It is. But it's so embarrassing, though.
Yeah.
It's so embarrassing because you just say some dumb shit. Say something embarrassing, and then you might put them off. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? You're like, fuck, I could have been hanging out with this person and I said some dumb shit because I'm all fangirling.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. Anyway.
But I like that. It's like, sets it in perspective somehow, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It does put it in perspective. We're all human beings.
That's right.
Living on this crazy earth, living in this crazy world and trying to make it, and music somehow makes it easier for us to get through. And it also makes it easier for us to connect with other people.
Right. Yeah.
I'm the only black person here. And I'm connected with everybody.
We're at the GuitCon, by the way.
Yeah.
And she's the only black person.
I'm the only black person
That's
here.
right. Yeah.
And one of maybe 3 or 4 women.
See?
So that's just kind of how it is. And, for some people that might be a breaking point for them where they're not able to break through that and really just connect, But every time I'm here, I feel like I've made so many genuine connections in the past, like with you and Nick, and now with Brian and Chris, and we're like a gang, and Phil.
The bass gang.
The bass gang. Yeah, we are really like a little gang. We're like the bad kids running around the factory a little bit. I always hook up with the bad kid crew. Everywhere I go.
That's where the fun is.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, there go the bad kids. What y'all doing? Where y'all going? It's
right. So, Divi, I thank you very much for the time.
Thank you. We talked about a lot of stuff. I hope you edit this.
Great. No, I don't.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
No editing. Wow.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Hope to see you soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This has been great. GuitCon. I'm into it.
Very good.
Love you, man.
Thanks, man.